stuck here. The cops won't bother me. I'm going to take the Ninja 250 out because I want to fill it up with gas. Because if you guys remember, I actually put this. It's seafoam. And once in a while, you can get away with cleaning the carburetors just by putting this in the gas and letting it flow through the carburetor. So I did put a little bit of this, and I want to make sure I dilute it now because it's kind of like empty. Yep, $6. Didn't even take the entire shebang. Kawasaki did give you a very large range. Look at that full tank of gas. $6. $6 got me a full tank of gas. That's kind of incredible. I think the FJR 10 will fill it, maybe. And of course the NC 700, because it's got such a small gas tank. I got what, I got $4. And it was so slim, it almost feels like a scooter-like slimness when you're lane splitting and filtering in Washington, DC. But that's primarily what I used it for, commuting. I did take it on some major trips, a couple Tennessee trips. I rode it to Canada one time. You know, like I just crossed the Canada border, but I didn't want to cross, so I just passed the portal and then I turned around and they wouldn't let me back in. That was kind of nutty. Man, this bike feels so good in the corners. It's very stable. You would think that somehow it'd be bouncing because the suspension on this is not great. But for a rider like me that's average, you know, like 150 pound, 160 pound, it's actually better than expected. Let me check the oil really quick. It looks pretty good, and it doesn't look like it's bubbling up. I was afraid that gas was getting into the engine again because of the carburetor. I still think that the carb bowls need to be adjusted, but right now it seems to be riding really well. And this bike is practically new. I'm just going to clean up this coolant that's come off here before it ruins the engine. But very simple bike. When you look at the forks, it's got conventional forks. It's got only one disc brake on the right, but that's enough to really stop this bike. And if you ever need to do fork seals, it's very easy on this thing. But I've never had the new Ninja, the suspension brake on it. And the cool thing about this bike is that it's very reliable, and all the components are so simple that if you know how to work on Japanese bikes, it's very accessible. The only issue with this one is that the valve adjustments are much harder to do on this than the old Ninja. It does have 17-inch wheel as opposed to the 16s, which is a much better handling bike for roads. You could remove that very heavy exhaust because the exhaust does weigh quite a bit. So if you want to lighten up this bike and make it a race bike, and you could do that, you could actually take this bike and use it for racing, and some people do, but I think a lot of people prefer the SV650 for that. Chains and sprockets last quite a bit of time on this thing because the bike doesn't make a lot of power, so you're not really wearing things out. And of course the front of this bike looks great with the dual headlights. It's got kind of like a little bit of a menacing look to it. Very simple to work on, but because the nature of a 250, it requires more maintenance than a big bike, and the larger the engine, it seems, the more miles you can pile on at a much more comfortable rate. But I never had any complaints about riding this thing every day in the winter, you know, in the rain, the snow. I rode it all the time. But when it comes to maintenance, for example, if you have to maintain this bike, you have to remove all that plastic. There's a lot of plastic to be messed around. Of course, the battery is underneath the seat. You have to remove this to access the battery, then to remove the seat using bolts. They would get this as a recreational bike because it does feel like that. It feels to me like I could take this bike to the track. It is that sharp, but of course, if you ride on a track, you're going to be holding people up in the straightaways, so you just move to the right, let them pass, and you can have a lot of fun in the corners on this thing. It's that fun but you have to pick a track that's very tight. Ninja 250 is definitely going to keep me out of jail as long as I don't get caught by the cops for... Oh, that was a cop right there. Shit, I'm going like 45 on a 35. Shit, that's not good. You know, sometimes I like to ride around these neighborhoods. Wow, look at that truck. That is awesome. That's an RV camper. 4-wheel drive. That is... I've never been in this neighborhood. This is like a very expensive area. Jeez. Alexander Drive. Let's check this out. Man, if I was a popular YouTuber, I'd probably live here. If I had money. You know, like I've gone around like people's neighborhoods. Wow, look at that house over there with that big yard. That's awesome. These houses, these are really nice, except this one. It was just okay. I mean, that house is fantastic looking. It's got like the white brick. It's got like a separate garage. Oh man, that'd be perfect for me. All of these houses would be perfect for me. Man, this is such a nice little road here. Man, these are cool houses. This is... oh, driveway. No, I guess this is a private driveway. And by the way, there is this thing that you think that somehow, even if you have a 600cc sport bike, that you're going to get on a 1000 later on and it's going to make you a better rider and you're going to ride fast. But think again, most humans are not capable of using the full power of a 1000 on the street. I have yet to see anybody, and even the most talented riders that I've ever seen, they cannot use a Super Sport 1000 better than a 600. You can get more power. The power is fun because you can kind of just go and do wheelies, and the feeling of the power is really cool on the 1000. But if your main goal is to be fast, and if your main goal is to get better in corners, a 1000 is not going to make you better at all. It's actually harder. And one of the things I did when I was riding my R1, and I was riding in the track and I was racing, the thing that I noticed is that the guys with the 600s, the guys with the 650s, they were tearing it up. But the guys with the 1000s, they would just pass you on the straights, and then they would hold up everybody with 600s on the corners. Alright, squids, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.